Why do they call Native Americans Indians? Let me tell you why. So in 1492, when Christopher Columbus stumbled onto this land that we now know as America, he thought he was in India. And the reason for this is because that's where he was headed, was to India. He was never looking for new land. He stumbled on it by accident. Now, most people were taught this in school, so most people have common knowledge of this, but I just want to state the facts and give you guys my knowledge. So in the 1400s, in the land of Europe, Spain was fighting a war within itself. The Moorish against the Spaniards that we know as the Spaniards, like the conquistadores, the ones who owned Spain, Queen Isabel, King Ferdinand, they're Spain. The Moorish Muslims came from northern Africa, which was right under Spain, so they just had to sail that water, or who knows how they crossed. That's how I figure it when I look at a map. Unless there was a land bridge, they might have crossed. Either way, they came north and they attacked Spain. This started around like AD 700, and this war went on for over 700 years. In Spain, the climate was real hot. It's close to the equator, so they needed spices. They had to preserve it, and salt is a preservative. Another thing that was very, very important was spices, because the food would rot. The meat would rot no matter what. It would rot a little bit, so it always had a taste of rottenness in it. So they would use spices to cover that rottenness. It's just how the world was back then. And these spices came from India. And if you look on a map of that side of the world, Spain is all the way on this side and India is all the way on this side, literally. And that's all they knew was that continent back in that time, or those continent, that part of the world. They didn't know about North or South America. They didn't know about none of this here. The ways that Spain would get their spices, they would travel around the Cape of Africa all the way around to India to get it. And that was a long journey through ship. Or they would have to travel all the way across land, all the way through all of Europe, all the way through all of Asia. Now that's a long mission too. And on this mission or journey, a lot of people died. They were attacked, they got robbed, they got sick. And you have to imagine they had to make this trip all the way and all the way back just for these spices. That's how important they were. While during this time, the scientists had been throwing out the ideas that the world was a sphere. The earth was a sphere and not flat. This is back in the time when they still thought the earth was flat, when most people did. While science was starting to evolve, and there was a scientist, I can't remember which one, Galileo maybe, Pluto, I don't fucking know. Anyway, they were starting to throw out the ideas that the earth was round, so people were starting to believe it. It was starting to become a thing. Christopher Columbus was one of these believers. So he came up with the brilliant idea of traveling to India a much quicker way. He figured that if the earth was sphere, that you could just go west and you'll sail all the way around it and end up on the other end in India, which makes sense, right? So he was going from kingdom to kingdom trying to find somebody to fund this exploration or this adventure or this mission, whatever you want to call it. He was Italian, by the way, just so people know. His own Italian country or whatever, kingdom, denied the funds. He went to France. The King of France denied the funds. He went to England. They denied the funds. Everywhere he went, they denied the funds. When he came to Spain and asked Queen Isabel, she denied the funds, but she was interested in the idea. The only thing, she said they couldn't fund them because of the war that they were in fighting the Moorish, but she promised him that when the war was won, she would fund his exploration or his mission or whatever you want to call it. So that's what happened in 1492. They won the war. The war ended. Spain was back as a kingdom, but even stronger than before because Queen Isabel married King Ferdinand and they made Spain one whole kingdom because it used to be divided into like 3 or 4 kingdoms. The Kingdom of Leon, Kingdom of Castile, the Kingdom of Navarre, and the Kingdom of Aragon. Anyway, so when Christopher Columbus came and asked him to fund the mission, she fulfilled her promise and did so. And she sent the 3 ships that are known as the Santa Maria, the Pinta, and the Niño, or whatever. And she also funded the Spanish soldiers. So when Christopher Columbus came, he sailed under the Spanish flag and he landed as a Spanish explorer. Well, he was Italian, but he was under a mission funded by the Spanish Empire, so he was for the Spanish, if that makes sense. While they sailed and sailed and sailed, imagine that mission across the Atlantic Ocean. Anyway, they finally made landfall. Pretty sure it was in Cuba, the Caribbean islands. And the people that met him there, the natives of that land, he thought were Indians, so he called them Indians. Down the road, they figured out that this was in fact not India, and it was a new land, not that far down the road, by the way. That's why Spain sent way more soldiers and they conquered all of this land, most of it. Not all of it. They conquered all of South America besides Brazil. They conquered all of Mexico, and they conquered the southwest of what is now the United States of America. But that's neither here nor there. After they found out it was America, they should have started calling them Native Americans after that. While some people did because they're native to America. So no matter whether they're natives from North America, South America, so whether they're the Native Americans from Arizona, New Mexico, you know, from here, from the Southwest, the American Southwest, or what we call the American Southwest, or if they were natives from Mexico, like the Aztecs, the Mayan, or if they were from farther than that, the Incas in South America, no matter what, they were Native Americans because it's all America, right? But they still call them Indians to this day. Now, I'm not here to speak about whether you should call them Indian or Native American. I call them Native because that's what they are. And I'm not here telling you what to call them or telling anybody what to call them. I'm just saying that is why they are called Indians to this day by most people and known as Indians. But they're not Indians because they're not from India. They're from America, so they're American. The first Americans, really. Anyway, that's why Native Americans are called Indians, though. Facts.